my entire grow room with horse straw mats. And what did I do with the plants? I put this picture in here just for this reason. So we moved, right? And I'm a plant grower. I mean, I don't like stop growing. We had to move. We actually got evicted from the house because we were medical marijuana growers, and they came in, they inspected, they said, okay, everything's cool. Then 2 months later, they sent us a letter saying, we would like you to leave. And they gave us a reason. We all know what it was about. And then we basically found out we were going pot. So we took clones and we stuck them in a little closet under a fluorescent white light. So this is my entire genetic gene pool that formed all of the genetics for the TGA seed companies in this little closet right there, waiting on the grow room to get finished. I just thought it was an entertaining picture. CO2, we talked a little bit about this last night. I think it is crucial for growing for several reasons. One is in a sealed room to control your odors. If we seal the room up and then we fill it with CO2, the door's not open. Nothing can get in, nothing can get out. Smells can't get in, smells can't get out. But last night we talked about this. I want to cover it now. Everybody wants to talk about, does CO2 make bigger buds or not? That's usually the discussion that goes on with CO2. How many people want to know if CO2 makes bigger buds? Does anybody even wonder that? Another question people want to know. Okay. It does. But more importantly, in a sealed room, how fast do the plants use up the available CO2? Very fast. 12 5-foot pot plants, 4 foot in diameter with 1,000 watts beaming on them. How much photosynthesis you think is taking place? A lot of photosynthesis is taking place. So it uses up the available CO2 right away. So that's why I believe in CO2 supplementation. I'm not a big fan of CO2 generators. I just like using the tanks. Having said that, Dioxide hooked us up and got us a good deal on CO2, so we don't pay quite as much as everybody else. I use about $60 worth of CO2 per harvest. So add that to that $180.
Can't you use more CO2 determining on the amount of light? Like let's say a 600 watt, you can only run your CO2. This is what I've read many times, that photosynthesis takes at different rates with more lumens. They can use more CO2 than with less.
Yes. And I'll tell you something else too, but this doesn't fit into my style of growing, so there's nothing to do about it. Warmer temperatures and higher CO2 will produce higher yields. Warmer temperatures produce mites. It's that simple.
How do you control your CO2?
It's just a little solenoid and a regulator. And while TGA has a lot nicer grow rooms, and I'm showing you this, I wanted to keep this simple on a personal grow room. Our main grow room right now, Dioxide's running some digital controller. I think you can call it on an iPhone, and I'm not joking. I really think you can call the damn thing. I just don't need all that. This is simply, I use the hydrofarm flow rate mathematical equation, which is cubic foot of your room. And my flow rate is 0.06 cubic foot per minute. So this is a high feed solenoid. And the tank lasts me about 8 days.
You're not exhausting the room with carbon?
No, the lights are exhausted through carbon filters. The room itself is closed. So we'll see pictures of that in just a little bit. So this is the room basically finished and loaded. You can see the floor mats. You can see the 7-gallon pots. You can see the cones that have been topped and everything. We're really going to talk more about why we produce this. This ugly little thing right here is a plant I was regenerating. Foilon is really important. Let's talk about that a second, because everybody spends. We want to talk about panda film and white paint. You know when you use white paint? When you can't afford Foilon. I mean, it's really that simple, you know. We used white paint when we started growing because it cost a lot of money. This grow room was like $8,000 to finish off, you know, so we didn't have a lot of money. Once we got the money, a roll of Foilon is like $96. And Foilon is a brand name. You don't have to use 3M's Foilon. They make so many products at the grocery store that are just like it. I think one's called Diamond Mat. Can some of you guys help me out? Work in the grocery shop? That's a Diamond Mat or something like that. Yeah, what it is Mylar is crap. I mean, Mylar tears, it wrinkles, it's impossible to put on. This stuff has the consistency of duct tape. So it's thick, you can barely tear it with your hand. You can take it down and reuse this. I actually moved this from our old room. So, yeah, I moved this stuff. No. It's not that. What you have to do is just type on Google. I am the hugest Google fan in the world. Foilon generic. So since Foilon is made by 3M, it's really expensive. It's about $140 a roll. But every single hydroponic company that sells hydroponic parts for a grow room makes a generic. So there's diamond foil and all this other stuff.
So I use Mylar, and I
Yeah.
leave it loose so it waves like the ocean.
No.
It really casts my light. Is this stuff similar where it has that consistency where it can move?
Yeah, but you don't want any ripples in your Mylar.
And it doesn't, I have a thick Mylar that doesn't crinkle at all.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
So it's a 5 mil Mylar, I think.
I got you. Okay, I see, just like a heavy duty.
Right, and
Okay.
so rather than tight, I can give it a little bit of looseness, so as the fan hits it, it really kind of waves.
You know, I don't know, and that's actually a really good question. I know that when you do a light meter test, which is what I've done, just a bounce meter test, this gives the best reflectivity. But I haven't ever worked with any high quality Mylar, so that is a huge difference.
And I like it because with my blowers attached to my room like that.
I can dig that.
So
It's bouncing the light in different.
Every
I can dig that. I can tell you that we just redid my bedroom with this stuff, and when it was empty of plants, I was unreal.
It's like
I was
a
like,
spaceship,
oh my
yeah.
God. And so, having said that, I think this stuff wears out.
Okay.
I really do, because the stuff I used in the grow room we moved, I reused. And then when we just went and bought a roll and put it up, I mean, I was blown away. So the reason reflection is so important is because without reflection, the light simply disappears into the wall. And with reflection, it bounces back. Yeah, you know, she's probably right. It's probably just getting dirty and resinous, because everything else in my room, you'll see I have an old camera that I shoot all my bud shots with. You could scrape a bond off it. Shut up. Seriously. It's that bad.
So how does pan to film compare?
And you know, just with the light test, it's just less. There's nothing wrong with it, but when you use a light meter and you hold it up against the wall, it was just a little less. So that's really why I like it. The main reason I like the full on is the durability of it. You know, just to be able to staple it up and take it down. I mean, I really like that. It's waterproof. It doesn't stain really. So
I noticed that your pots didn't have liners under them. Is that?
they have catch pans.
Oh, they do? I didn't
Yeah,
see
see
them.
the
They were
green
yellow
thing?
pots. I didn't see them.
You know, I got a bit sometimes. I might not have enough catch pans. But
Okay.
when I'm fully loaded.
On
I've never had a problem with hot spots. No, never had. I mean, obviously we keep our rooms at 74 degrees. We'll talk about it forever a lot. So basically, rooms on, plants on. See that turgidity or that super soil? That's what your plants are supposed to look like. Standing straight up. This was about 2 weeks after we loaded the room. So you can see they're really taking off. There's no magic taking place. It's just super soil, lights, CO2, good clean air. And we'll get into topping a little bit. We always want our canopies to look this thick and this healthy.
On with CO2, how critical is it? I mean, do you have to have exact numbers? The problem I have is I'm having problems with my monitor. But I know that the room, I know its cycle. It takes about 1 minute to fill. It's really small, and it takes about 5 minutes to exhaust it. So would I be safe with a cycle timer? Is it that critical that I know exactly what my people
I don't think it's that critical, but what I would do, and this was turned on to me, I would go down to your local gas distributor and rent a monitor.
Okay.
You can rent the monitor for like $15. That's how I know this last night. That's why I was talking so factual. When I turned that CO2 off and I watched that monitor go, in like 2 minutes, I was like, well, hell yeah, we need CO2. So yeah, rent a monitor and find out. After I set my meter to that 0.05 was my original calculation, we actually did the monitor test and it was only running like 1,100 parts per million. So we tweaked it on up to about 0.06 to get that 1,400. And the variance was all the damn fans I have going in the room. I have like 4 fans, a dehumidifier, and an air conditioner going. Some of that CO2 is getting out. Some of it's probably rising up into the 9-foot ceiling I have. So get a monitor and find out. I mean, you know they actually make a strip. Did you know that? You can order them online. You know, whatever. You break the tube and you stick it in there, and then you go back in the room and you look and it tells you. I would rent the monitor.
On that last picture, there were some white things you had on that. Those are that script.
Yeah, I know where you're at. Let's find them. Yes, they are pest strips.
They'll fly.
Yeah. And no, but let's talk about them a second. I don't use them as much anymore because I got everything solved. These things contain a chemical called dichlorofluorometho, and it's just awful. I mean, if you read the MSDS from them, they sound pretty bad, you know. I'm not licking them. I'm not snorting them, you know. And they are in the air. I know, and I understand. If you choose not to use them, fine. I know my life. Some pest strips are not going to be what takes me out. Okay, just not. Maybe the '80s might be what took me out, but it's not going to be the pest strips. Okay, maybe a cheeseburger from Fuddruckers. It's not. But seriously, if you're a good, clean liver, and if that's your thing, and you're really against pesticides and chemicals of all kinds, then absolutely don't use the pest strips. Pest strips will help prevent bugs entering your grow room. They will not rid your plants of bugs. Absolutely won't even make mice turn around and look at them. But for a time, I believe they help prevent bugs. I have not bought pest strips for over a year and I don't have mice right now. So I have other solutions. Let's go right into that because I'm really going to shock you. We're here learning about organic growing and everything we do is organic, but we control our mites with Avid, which is a miticide. And before we get all holier than thou about Avid, if you're eating, unless you're going to the Whole Food Market and paying $15 a quart for blueberries, you're eating Avid. Because the little dudes walking around in the field with a backpack sprayer, that's Avid. So you're eating it. So we have done extensive research on it. Their test results on Avid would blow you away. I think you can use it like 2 weeks before harvest the vegetables. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but I only dip my clones. Only never spray Avid ever. You're an idiot if you put Avid in a sprayer and spray it in your grow room and breathe it. I mean, seriously, you can cause serious damage. Ladybugs fly up into the lights. Ladybugs work great on a plant in a phototron. You get a garden that's running 365 days a year, crop after crop after crop. The predatory mice were really fun to trip and look through a micro lens and watch them run over and grab him and pick him up and bite his head off. But they did get rid of my mice. They just got rice all over my crop. That's a good question. I have floramite in a little jar that I've never opened. And the reason I have it is in case Avid stopped working. Having said that, we have used like a ½ ounce of Avid this year. We only use Avid if we have to use it and only when absolutely necessary. And we only use it to dip our clones in. I know this is controversial. I hate mites. And as a breeder, I cannot get mites on my male plants. I cannot lose strains. You guys are already mad at me for losing Danny Boy, so you can't lose any more strains.
What are your thoughts on smart pots?
So we were talking about air pots a little earlier.
Oh, sorry.
But it's okay, I think air pots are good. I don't use them. I think there's nothing wrong with them other than they dry out too fast. Well, but I've seen stellar results with them, and I don't have anything bad to teach about them. One thing that I do feel the need to apologize, and I had this argument with Ed. It took me 3 years to sell him this book. I said, this is not a book on how to grow pot. It's how I grow pot. There's plenty of books on how to grow pot. So air pots work great. They just dry out too fast, and they kill my whole 4-day system. So I watered before I left, and I don't have to water till we get back Monday. That's a nice feeling, right?
An old water bed frame. It's got a plastic liner for the bed in it too. I was going to put my plants in there. I also have the heater, and I was wondering, can I put the heater underneath the liner?
I would not. I would never heat my plants, and we'll talk about this a little bit on seed germinating. I guarantee you there's people in this room who use a heat mat to start clones and seeds. And I guarantee you they're successful. I would never use a heat mat to start clones. Seeds will grow underneath my barbecue grill in the wintertime, so I don't think we need help. But so we'll talk about that a little more. Having said that, I was going to use a pond liner in that room you saw. Pond liner's like $14 a square foot. Yeah. So I went with a tarp.
Yeah, back to miticides. Are you familiar with 4-bid, 4F?
I've seen all that stuff. A lot of times, like me and you talked last night, when I find something that works, I'll stick with it. And if you actually buy a bottle of Abbott like I did, it is a lifetime supply for you and your kids.
It's the same with the 4-bit. I just wanted to know if you heard anything
No,
bad
if, you know,
about
if it
it.
works, brother, if it works and you don't have mites in your garden, use it. I would say this, read the
Yeah.
MSDS, and as long as I'm assuming it's like Abbott, it says you can use it up to 2 weeks before flowering. You can eat lettuce that Abbott is sprayed on. So yeah, I think it's
Well, it says for ornamentals only.
yeah. The stuff I don't like is neem. I mean, neem, plants hate neem oil. They get all pissed off when you put neem oil on them. And maybe you guys will grow better than me, but I wasn't able to get rid of the mites.
What about organicide then?
I haven't
Same
used that
thing.
either. My partner dioxide, he knows so much more about products. Again, we'll be using Abbott until it doesn't work, and we haven't used it in the last 2 cycles because we haven't had any issues.
You believe in taking preventative measures so you don't ever get stuck.
It's about temperature, yeah. It really, Rob just hit the nail on the head. As long as you don't let your grow room get really too hot and too cold and get into these extremes, and don't introduce pests, you won't have them. But you know, having said that, I mean, you watch, and any of you guys watch the Weed Nerd or see me on TV, I mean, I have a dog. My dog comes in and out of my office. He doesn't go in my grow rooms, but he comes in and out of my office. So I'm pretty much violating rule number 1, right? Now, I have oak trees and I have a dog. I should have mites, right? How come I don't have mites? Because my grow rooms aren't really where they want to live. They're the wrong temperature and the wrong humidity for the James Brown mite hot tub party. I just don't want to go. I stay out of it.
I was curious, how many lights per, like I have a little bit more room, I have a garage, and I was just curious how many lights I should have per plant. I have like 3 1,000, and I want to get a 4th one. And I was curious also, what do you think about tracks and light movers?
Wow, 2 really good questions. And we have a section on lighting, but it's so short, I'll always answer lighting questions because the lighting segment's like a picture of chart lighting. I believe the best number of plants personally is 4 plants under a 1,000 watt light over a 6 by 6 footprint, but the plants only take up 5 by 5. So we want our reflective material to be at 6 foot. But we don't want our plants right up against the wall or we can't get that reflection. We don't want to crowd our plants. It's really bad. Having said that, I know the guys that put 1 plant under one 1,000 watt light and they're getting that same pound. Okay, so 4 plants times 6 is 24. That's better than a pound. So let's talk about pigs. Pigs is getting that 22, so he's right there. But because we have so many strains, I still like 4 per plant because I don't grow all the same plant. Somebody else asked me about canopy control. We will get into canopy control, mixing strains that work with others.
Back to the mite with Abbott, I actually had the reversed effect. I found that neem worked better for me than Abbott did.
And you know, again, that's why I prefaced when I said that. That's why I said it like I said it. I mean, I have friends that are, okay, I'm a hippie, but I'm a hippie with a sports car and act like a hippie player. I'm not your, you know, I don't wear Birkenstocks, and I'm not that kind. I'm not a tree hugger, if that were. But I have friends that are, and I should call them tofu eaters because my one buddy is. And he has no problem. He uses neem oil for mites. He uses ladybugs. You know, he uses all the things that I don't think work in a commercial garden. If you're able to pull it off and have it work, then more power, because certainly neem is better for the environment than Abbott. And there's another issue that we haven't talked about that Big High would have already been on my ass if I was here. Abbott is like pulling a 12-gauge shotgun out to kill a butterfly. And a lot of people that are more natural would say to take steps. Start with your ladybugs, start with, you know, your predators, use your neem oil, use things that are organic and I'm listed. Because once you use Abbott, if your mites become resistant to Abbott, then you need that 12-gauge shotgun to kill the mites because there's nothing else that's going to kill them. And I'm going to get you next. I understand that argument very much. A lot of it comes from what I do and how I do it. I control about 30 genetic clones that if I lose them, you guys lose them forever. So I pull that 12-gauge shotgun out. But on a personal garden, if you can control mice with me, please don't use Abbott. You know, if that makes sense.
I actually had the problem where I did use Abbott, and I didn't have hardly any death ratio at all. And
Good.
And then I dipped in neem, and I haven't seen no movement at all.
And that's good. I mean, that's good. You know,
And that's
that's,
the same thing, it's like, the guy that I got the Abbott from was telling me that, this is like the best stuff on the world, and if you have a mic that is not reacting to the Abbott, then
you got a problem.
you gotta draw the line
And
somewhere.
a lot of it's how you, we'll get into how you use it later, but it's a lot of it is when you use Avid, you've got to wipe them out. Can't leave any.
Yeah, you know, I just wanted to say, I ended up getting like some super mic. I screwed up and in my garden for the medical marijuana farmer's market.
Right.
A bunch of strands. I had a clean grow room until then, and I tried Advents. These were like super mics, like Mike Lee or something, they're kicking its ass. And I just doubled up on the neem oil, and it totally knocked them out, like where the Advent couldn't do it. I think they're just resistant to it.
And very well so. And this is one thing, and if I haven't said this today, I hope I have. There's so many ways to do this, guys. You know, I'm just trying to lay out a baseline so you guys can maybe not make some of the mistakes I did. I have a friend that controls his mice with ladybugs. He loves it. He's got this crop of ladybugs. He's always introducing them. It's like his little pets and everything. You know, for me, I have a lot of plants in a lot of different areas, and I just can't have it. And the way we use Avid is we're dipping the clones at the start, and then we're dipping them again 3 days later. You missed that second dip. You didn't use the product as per the instructions. I dip the whole rapid rooter, the whole thing. I hold it underwater. And there's nothing that can live through that. I think when you're spraying them, you're missing them.
Does the Abbott kill the eggs? The floor might.
No, it does not kill the eggs. The reason you have to treat 3 days later is because mites have a 3-day life cycle.
The floor mite, that stuff that you got.
It kills the eggs?
First time I used
Yeah.
it, and I was freaking out. I never looked at spider mites through a 420 scope.
They're ugly,
This
man.
big, and you can see the eggs tucked under the little veins of the leaves.
Just so you'll know though, Rob, the MSDS on floor mites about 12
I only used
pages
it
long.
once, and it was there were no buds on it.
Abbott's pretty
Yeah.
short.
But-
So I think we're done here. How do we do on time?
12 o'clock.
Is it really 12 o'clock?
It's 12:02.
We're done!
Guys, I'm gonna take a smoking break out on the back deck. We'll have lunch ready. There's also soups, there's medicated tea for sale.
Hey, Phil.
He was talking about the reflectors wearing out. I've been on for your scene. Not online. I think it was on the new graffiti lights that are coming out. Your people, but they're double-ended down. They're showing, they're saying most reflectors have died off after 2 years, reflected in the material of the material itself. Clean seal tinted lights, filtered air coming out, stuff, some dust, but they see the actual polished reflectivity after years. Not far away from 1,000 watts, 140 lumens and whatnot.
I don't know. I change my bulbs every 9 months, and I've run the same thing for 5 years. And like everybody else,